list and where we're at. As you say, last year, again, do you look at the glass half empty or half full? The facts are we were 1 wicket away from hosting the Sheffield Shield final. It is a fine line between pleasure and pain, and you look at the end result, and South Australia, myself, Keith, we're disappointed where South Australia finished, but winning 4 games outright in a Sheffield Shield season was a significant improvement from the last decade, if you like. So I'm enthused and excited, and the development of Chad Sayers, who's today been announced in the Australian A squad, a great reward for a South Australian who's come through our system. Joe Mennie was an exciting season. Kane Richardson had a breakout summer, and Tim Ludeman was outstanding. So some players really stood up, and then unearthing guys like Alex Carey, Travis Head. I'm genuinely enthused, and there is no reason why we can't be right up there competing next summer.
That was probably the letdown at the end of the day.
Certainly our batting this year, there's no hiding behind that, and that's why I think Andrew McDonald's inclusion. Michael Klinger is a class player. He had a down summer in Shield, a good one-day season, so I'm expecting Klinger, who's over there leading Gloucester at the moment, to come back strong. Callum Ferguson has still a lot to prove. Andrew McDonald gives us the experience, and then you gel that around guys like Tommy Cooper, who's in good form in the Netherlands. That's exciting for us to see that, along with our kids, Carey, Travis Head, young Kelvin Smith coming through the system. I think we're well placed for a real charge.
He came on and leaps and bounds last season. Is he, as you spoke about his gloves, could he play for Australia in the not too distant future?
Why wouldn't he? I think you would all agree that his wicket keeping is outstanding. He's let down the previous season as his batting. Well, last year we pushed him up to the top of the order in Ryobi Cup and in the 2020, and he went along leaps and bounds. So it's his ambition, no doubt, to play for Australia, and given the volatility of the Australian wicket-keeping position at the moment, it'll be my job to help Tim achieve that goal in the coming seasons. He has the ability to do it.
You mentioned that McDonald was keen to have a fresh start. His management mentioned he wanted to have a fresh start. Was there anything that he said to you that's really sweetened the deal and made him stay in South Australia?
Not really. When I spoke to Andrew last week when I was away, he was just looking for a fresh start out of Victoria, out of that system that he's given loyal service to, and he's been a wonderful Victorian cricketer. And he really enjoyed his time here in Adelaide last year for the Strikers. Even though he was injured, he played a sort of mentoring capacity to some of ours. So I didn't honestly think in our wildest dreams that Andrew McDonald would come up to be available. So I was sort of pleasantly surprised when Jamie made me aware of that McDonald was looking for a fresh start. So for us, I think it's a huge bonus to get a play of his experience.
Bailey, Haberfield and Smith, do you know if they've been approached to play elsewhere?
I don't know. I haven't heard of any approaches. And again, I would say to all 3 of those boys, and in our end-of-season debriefs, all 3 of those players are highly respected in our system and could well still play for South Australia this summer. Jake Haberfield in particular played a significant role in one-day cricket. Jake is very much required. He just hasn't got an upfront contract. He only played 1 Sheffield Shield match last year. But Jake's a talent that we don't want to lose, but he hasn't been offered a contract. And in the system that we work in, we don't stand in anyone's way if they're not contracted to our system. But all 3 of those players, James Smith will come again. I hope he stays here. And Cullen Bailey is someone I admire enormously. He led Glenelg to the premiership this year, and I think he's an all-round cricketer. And I think he's good enough to be chosen as a batsman for South Australia. And I've worked a lot with him in his leg spinning. So all 3 required, but haven't won a contract in a small list.